Right. Yes, that's a good point. It's sort of related to this celebrity tendency of virtual signaling. They're acting as if they are so virtuous and great and everything, but really, when you look at their lifestyles, not so virtuous.
Yes, that's very funny actually, because also just now I'm reading some texts by Rousseau and comparing them with some theory about why civilizations collapse. And one thing that Rousseau criticized very much in his essays is that people act as if they were virtuous, but they are not virtuous. It's the acting as if instead of actually being virtuous. And I think we see more and more of this in our own society as well. And I think it's also maybe a signal that we are not headed in a very good direction.
Yes, that's true, and one might say that we have this tendency, which might perhaps be within us all, this tendency to think of ourselves to be this great person, when in reality you are not really that great. I think this is something that all people struggle with to some degree. Some people might think of themselves as, I'm really the one who stands up for the truth, and I would speak out if there were an injustice or if I were to fight for my cause. But in reality, they are just like everyone else. And yes, I think that's an unfortunate thing, to put it that way. And perhaps one might argue that people who really do be virtuous and be heroic and be willing to fight for the good, perhaps it's an interesting phenomenon that they don't actually think of it that way. They don't think all the time, oh, look at me, how great I am. They're just focused on the end in mind. They're not really focused on themselves. So it's more centered around the good they're trying to achieve rather than centered around themselves. So it's not affected by pride, but rather something else. And I think that's an admirable virtue in itself. Be focused on something else rather than try to think of yourself all the time as, oh, look at me right now, but rather look at the end goal and just disregard yourself in a sense. I think that's an interesting tendency. I speculate that this is the perhaps a trait of people who are actually great people.
Yes, I think that's a very good thing that you have pointed out here. Because I was just thinking to say that courage is not the state of not having fear, but it's overcoming one's fear. So, because as you said, everyone is the same. Everyone is afraid of confrontation and to stand up against uncomfortable situations and other people. But to be courageous is to overcome this fear. And I think you have just pointed out here the way that you can actually achieve that by being focused on the higher goal, on the higher good that you are trying to achieve. And just think, yes, I am afraid of this, but the truth or that which is good is actually more important than if I am comfortable or not. And so, as you said, the people who do these great things, they are very focused just on the goal that they want to achieve, which is the good or the truth or something like that. And it's not wanting to be popular myself, but it's just something is not right and I have to do something to try to make it right. So yes, I completely agree there.
Right, exactly. And I think it's very sad that one of the reasons why so many people don't do the good things and don't promote good ideas that are necessary to promote today are because they're afraid of being viewed as different or weird by the people around them, like friends and family and colleagues. I think that's one of the main reasons why so many people will not speculate or consider new positions or new battles to fight in the intellectual sphere, to put it that way. That's a sad thing, and people should think more like for instance, Saint Paul does in the New Testament, who talks about that he's not out to please men, he's out to please God. Because if he tried to please men, he would not be a servant of Christ. I think this mentality is really something that people should think about. Yeah.